Hi, friends. Run the race, keep the faith. Those are words from St. Paul in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 4. Here's the context of this his encouragement to run the race, keep the faith. For him, he says, I, Paul, I'm already being poured out like a libation, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have competed well, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. From now on, the crown of righteousness awaits me, which the Lord, the just judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but to all who have longed for his appearance. Let's break that down. So here's the context. St. Paul is an older man, and he's imprisoned in Rome. He dies around the year 67. And he's writing a letter to Timothy, a young person that he has mentored. And now Timothy is a priest, a bishop, a leader. And he is passing on his words to him, but not just to him, but through him, of course, to you and I to this day and to future generations. And what he's trying to communicate is that because he's lived his life the way that he has lived his life, he's competed well, he's finished the race, he's kept the faith, and now all he is eager for is to wear the crown of righteousness. And here's the thing. You and I know that we can't assume our salvation, and yet so many Christians today just do that. They assume that they're going to get into heaven, and without much effort on their own, right? St. Paul knew better than that, and his writings often reflect that we can't assume our salvation. In fact, what we have to do is cooperate with the grace that is available to us. God, yes, is the one who saves us, but it's a dance, and it takes two, and we have to participate with our dance partner if ever we want to get into heaven. And in this dance, we have to learn to let him take the lead rather than us to take the lead, or us to just sit along the side and watch him do his dance. No, we have to engage him and cooperate with him. And when we cooperate with his grace, then we allow his grace to fill us up more and more, and it leaves less and less room for anything else other than his grace, other than his presence, other than his love, his mercy, all of his gifts, all of his life, his virtues, his holiness, and so on, which is all not only going to make us happy in heaven, but more happy here in this life. So no, we can't assume our salvation, and certainly we have to work with God for it. But here at this point of Paul's life, he's now ready for salvation. And he has, based upon his own story with Jesus, he can confidently say, listen, I've competed. I've danced the dance. I've run the race. He's referring, to the Olympics and to the marathon, which was very popular in that day. And Paul would have seen it living in Greece and going through his journey through Greece. And he says, I've run that long marathon and I have kept the faith. So from now on, the crown of righteousness awaits me. Here's where I'm going with this. Wouldn't we all, I know I would, want that kind of peace and confidence at the end of our lives? That we've competed. We have stuck it out, and we've run the whole race, and we have not let go of the faith. So much so that at the end of our lives, we can confidently await the crown of righteousness, crown of glory that God is ready to give us in heaven. Wouldn't we all like that peace and confidence? I hope you want that. I know I want it. And maybe the reason why I'm asking that and wanting that is because where I'm at, this is my 25th year of priesthood, my 25th anniversary of being a priest of Jesus Christ. And even after 25 years, my prayer and my effort, not perfect, but certainly making not only the intention, but trying to do the work of continuing to compete well with everything that's out there in the world. Trying to finish the race that God has put me in. And every day trying to hold on to the faith that God has given to me as a gift. My desire as a priest is whenever it is that He's going to call me home, that I'll be ready. Whether that's tomorrow or a year from now or 10 years from now or at retirement or a few years after retirement or maybe 25 more years. Maybe God in His goodness I'll see not just a silver anniversary, but a golden anniversary of priesthood. That would be great. But no matter those things, because those things are not in my control, what is in my control is to compete, is to run, and is to keep the faith. So at the end of my life, I no longer have to assume faith, meaning I can stop struggling with assuming my salvation, which I don't assume. I know it's a gift and I have to unwrap that gift. But maybe one day I can get to the end of my life and I can say to God, I have competed, I have run the race, I have kept the faith, and I'm ready for you. I say that to you because that's what St. Paul not only said to young Timothy as he was passing on the banner of leadership to St. Timothy, but he was saying this is not only possible for me, it's possible for you. That this just judge of us will give us what we deserve, what we have, He's worked for, and what we have cooperated with and worked for with Him. And not only for St. Paul and not only for Timothy, but he says, but to all who have longed for His appearance. I think that's the key. That every day we long for Him to appear. In our minds and in our hearts and in our relationships, in our work, in the practice of our faith, in our prosperity, in our times of drought and disease, when we feel lost and when everything is going well, that we just never forget to long for Him. Not just when it's tough, but especially when it's easy, to long for Him. And that was St. Paul's life. I just got back from leading a pilgrimage of about 40 of my parishioners in the footsteps of St. Paul. It was his second journey. He had 3 journeys, and these were evangelical journeys to spread the faith before he died. And in his second journey, it was mostly through Greece. So I took a group of pilgrims over to Greece, and we walked in his footsteps. So we went to Thessalonica, we went to Corinth, we went to Berea, we went to many of the Philippi and Athens and the like, many of the places that he visited, that he lived in, that he wrote letters to. And I'll never forget spending some time in Corinth and learning that, it's right there in the Acts of the Apostles, but learning that St. Paul was in Corinth for a year and a half. And Corinth is a very prosperous city in Greece. Greece was this huge empire that eventually got overtaken by the Romans, and now the Romans are occupying Corinth and all the other Greek cities. And Corinth at this time, the time that Paul's writing his letters to the Corinthians, is this prosperous city, because it is a city that is surrounded by 2 great seas, the Ionian Sea and the Aegean Sea. And so east meets west, and this is the crossroads of all trade. So it is wealthy beyond imagination. And they have the culture, they have the arts, they have the music, they have, the plays, they have government, they have education, and they also, in their great prosperity, are known throughout the Roman Empire as the most sinful city, the most immoral city in Greece, filled with prostitutes, filled with corruption, filled with crime. In the midst of all this wealth and prosperity is all this darkness. And it's into this city that God sends St. Paul, and not just sends him, to walk up and down the Roman, the Greek Agora, or the Roman Forum, it's called, to walk in and out of the government city buildings, to walk in and out of the marketplace, to walk in and out of the places of entertainment, and so on. He's not just there for a couple of days. God leaves him there for a year and a half. And he faces a lot of opposition. He doesn't go in there and beat up on the people. He calls them to a deep relationship with God. He competes. He runs the race. He keeps the faith. And even though he ran into a lot of darkness and a lot of rejection, a lot of pushback, day after day he won more and more converts. To the time that by the time he died, he was there in 51 and 52 AD. By the time he died in 67 AD in Rome, in prison, there were thousands of Christians in Corinth. Simply because one man competed. One man didn't give up the race, and one man kept the faith. That one man can be you. It could be me. But I don't know about you, but for me, at the end of my life, I want that peace of knowing that I competed well. I finished the race, man. I kept the faith, and I passed on the faith. Like a relay racer, I took the banner, the baton, and I passed it on to another person, another person, another person, another person. And then at the end of my life, I could take my last breaths and await the great glory that is in front of me. You want your glory now? As the Lord bestows it? The crown of victory now, whatever that looks like? Or do you want the crown of victory that only God can bestow, and the glory that is beyond anything that any man or person or job or power or prestige or looking at yourself in the mirror or any accomplishment could ever give you? If you want something more than that, compete well. Run the race. Keep the faith. And by the end of your life, you will have, through Jesus Christ and his grace, by dancing the dance with him, by cooperating with his grace, you'll not only secure that crown for yourself, but for so many other people, and especially the people that God asks you to run the race with, especially the people that God asks you to pass the faith on to. So run